Hello class, it's June 18th, time to start a new week in our class, and the focus for this week is on research for establishing cause and effect. And so the methods that we're talking about here, causal comparative research, experimental research, and single subject experimental research are all methods for establishing a stronger link between cause and effect than correlation and survey type research. Although causal comparative and single subject are probably not as strong, they aren't as strong as experimental research for establishing cause and effect. So I'll talk about those in a separate video coming up, but you'll read chapters 9, 10, and 11 and review the slides there. And then you'll take a look at a discussion or participate in a discussion on selecting measuring instruments. So this is something that's getting you to start thinking about what instrument you might use as part of your proposed research study. And so that's what it's talking about. Explain the research measuring instrument that you are thinking of using for your research study. It could be something that you have read about someone else using, or it could be something that you will create yourself. But using an established instrument is best because the instrument has been tested and likely validated. So consider that. Consider looking for different instruments in preparation for this discussion for this week, and talking about what one you might use out of the things that maybe you've read about or heard about. Or if there's a good reason, maybe you could also just establish or create your own instrument to measure those things, although that's again not as strong because it hasn't been validated by someone else and used by someone else yet. So that's something to talk about this week. Also talk about the types of considerations that should be made when you select an instrument for a research study. Just coming to mind for me, a few of those things are, it's fitness to the audience. I think that sometimes there are a lot of instruments out there that would be good for adults, but maybe not for children. It'd be hard for them to fill out, perhaps, if it's adult language, for instance. What else? That it is validated. It is an instrument that measures what you want it to measure, and not maybe some other construct that's somewhat related but not the same. So those are some things to think about talking about in the discussion this week. And then finally, a proposal description is due at the end of this week. So what you're going to do is take a look at task 2A or 2B from the textbook. And you have to think about your study. Is it qualitative or quantitative? In other words, is it going to collect numeric data, or is it going to collect non-numeric data for qualitative studies? And take a look at the tasks in the textbook to complete this assignment. And so if it's quantitative or qualitative will dictate whether you use task 2A or 2B from the textbook. And there's also an example one in the textbook. So use the textbook to kind of do this assignment, but what you're going to do is include an introduction. So you're going to write some more about your study that you beyond the preliminary lit review that you've submitted. You're going to add an introduction, a statement of the problem, and a statement of the hypothesis. The review of the literature is just your finished preliminary literature review that you already submitted. So you just paste that in there basically as a separate section in this document. And then the statement of the problem and statement of hypothesis and introduction are what you add. So the statement of the problem, remember, this is a statement about a problem that exists somewhere in the world that your research is intended to maybe shed some more light on, or maybe give some more information about, or solve. And the statement of hypothesis, this is a strong statement of what you expect the outcome of your research study to show. In other words, it's not just a general statement about the way things are in the field. It's a statement for your study and what you expect the outcome of the study to be. An example statement of hypothesis might be students who experience the 1, 2, 3 curriculum will have higher achievement than students who do not experience this curriculum. So that would be a statement of hypothesis because, again, you're hypothesizing that those students who receive the curriculum will score better in your study than students who do not. So it's a prediction about what your study outcome will be. Now, in order to know about these things and what to write about them, you can go to the book again and kind of look at what is a statement of problem, what is a statement of hypothesis, and go over those requirements in the book for more information on that. And then there's also a proposal description example of a student who scored well in the past. And so this was a good example of that assignment that you can kind of look at to get an idea of how to make this work, how to submit this proposal description assignment. So that's due by the end of the week. And I believe that's all for the video for this week. Good luck getting started on that. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is that I did grade almost all of your preliminary lit reviews. And you have a couple of choices you can make with those. You can resubmit that within 1 week of receiving feedback. And so some of you might have given feedback last week, so probably to be safe, you want to get it into me by the end of this week. Or you can just carry on and keep the score that you have and then work on your suggestions that you received for the final literature review, which will be due later in this semester. And that's a bigger literature review. It just expands upon what you've created so far and adds in up to 15 sources, or above 15 or more sources, I should say, are the total that it needs to have. Doesn't add in that many, but adds in, what would that be, 8? And so you can choose to resubmit if you want to, and I'll regrade it and change the score based on what you resubmit, or you can just work on suggestions for the final literature review later in the semester and keep the score that you have received. So those are your choices there. But remember also that you do have to resubmit that within a week of receiving feedback, which for most of you would be by the end of this week. All right, good luck this week, and we'll see you later.